this is something that people have been worried about. I've been coaching folks across the country for the DC bar, the California bar, the Florida bar, whatever. And currently, all of these exams are set to go remote. But what we have seen so far is based on the stress tests that have been done by ILG and ExamSoft. There have been no 100% successful remote exams, especially after Michigan. So, what states have been doing is telling students with very little time to prepare that they are going to be going open book, open note, open resource. They will be emailed questions, they will have an allotted time to answer the questions, and then they'll send them back. So, the questions really are, how does one prepare for an open book test that may or may not happen concurrently with a remote test that they know is definitely scheduled to happen? So I think the best way for you to approach this is to take a hybrid approach. So you can't stop preparing as if it's a closed book exam because as far as we know it may well be. And you still have to try to work on incorporating all of the rules that they've set for these remote exams, like you can't move your head, you can't twirl your hair, you can't write things down, use scratch paper, all of those things. So I think the first thing to do is, because we do not know, especially with respect to Florida, that's supposed to be starting very shortly. The fact that we don't know what that's going to look like still or whether it will work. If they did decide to go open book, it's likely they may only give you, a 24-hour turnaround time or maybe even less time than that. So I think if you have the time and resources now, concurrently with your current preparation, the first thing you're going to do is get all of your resources together in one place. And I mean anything that you could possibly use, your Black's Law Dictionary, your any law school books you might want to use for reference, all of your bar prep books, Barbary, Themis, Adaptabar, whatever you've got. If you've been using flashcards and you have a stack of flashcards that you refer back to often, have those ready. Get your outlines out. And what I would recommend for you to do right now is to take the time to carefully tab out any of the resources that you're going to need. We know there will be certain MBE subjects for a fact. You know you're going to get Civ Pro, contracts, torts, property evidence, all of that stuff. So start with the subjects that you absolutely know are going to be on the bar exam and prioritize those before you go to any state specific topics. Start with the subjects that you know are going to be tested. Go through your outline books, go through your class notes. And what I would recommend is get some binders. Use whatever binders you have, use whatever folders you have, any kind of organizational tools that you have, and separate each subject out. And within each subject, you want to separate out the specific topics, the subtopics. So for property, you want to have a mortgages section. You want to have a future interest section for wills, whatever. Each specific thing. For con law, you want to make sure you have an individual rights section. And within that, you're going to want to have what I would recommend, especially because you're going to have a very limited amount of time for each of these essays, whether they be 30 minutes or 1 hour long. So what I would recommend that you do is rip apart all of your practice essay books. If you didn't print out essays, print them out now. Take every single practice essay with its sample answer and put it in a binder and make sure that you subcategorize it. So find every single manslaughter essay for criminal law, find every single negligence essay for torts, for example, and make sure that they're all categorized under the same umbrella, that they're all put in the same bucket. And another thing that you can do is you can create your own shell answers for every single one. And one way you can do this concurrently with your prep is, as you're doing practice essays, which you should be doing, you can take pieces of those essays that you've completed, especially where it's the rule articulation piece or the issue spotting, and you can look at the specific types of issues that are tested over and over again in the same way, and you can create sort of a template answer. So if I see a negligence answer, I know I can literally put this language in here. If I see intentional infliction of emotional distress, I know exactly what to put, and I can just literally type that directly into my answer. So I think having shell answers on hand that you literally can just almost copy verbatim into the answer sheet. It's not cheating. It's a completely legal strategy. If you're doing an open book, open note, they know you have access to the rules. What they're going to be looking for is more stringent analysis. So the difficulty here is you're going to have to still memorize these rules of law, but the good news is you can save yourself some time by, if you know what the rule is and it does go open book, you could just immediately flip to that portion of your outline and copy it out verbatim, unless you can remember it verbatim, which I recommend that you try and continue to do as many memorization sort of practice quizzes or whatever you can do for memorization, whether it's flashcards or typing things out or outlining things again. The main thing is that you continue to keep practicing as if it were closed book. You can't rely on it going open book. If it does go open book, I'm happy to do another session if people have specific questions about how to organize. But right now, you still have to pretend that it's going to be closed book, but you have to have your resources well prepared. Another thing I would recommend doing is creating very synthesized sort of one sheets. So for students who have had the ability to maybe bring one piece of paper into an exam, and I've definitely been that person where the professor said you can bring one piece of paper in and write anything that you want on it, and some of us just like tried to cram our entire semester's outline on that one piece of paper in like 2-point font. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I think you can tell, use the analytical tools that you have in your bar prep course, whether that be Kaplan or Themis or Barbary, Adaptive whatever you have, whatever online tools you have, usually there's some way that you can go into the system and you can see what proportion of each subject area is tested. So you can see that maybe 33% of contracts questions are about formation issues. So I would recommend that you have on a quick sheet the bits of law or the rules of law for the most frequently tested areas. So formation issues are going to be on there. First Amendment's going to be on there. You're going to see some equal protection stuff on there for con law. You're going to see every single hearsay exception will likely be on there. So the stuff that you see most frequently is the stuff you should have in a quick sheet, something that you can quickly refer to, that you can just glance at while you're continuing to prepare, while you're continuing to do practice essays, and while you're continuing to prepare all of your resources for an open book exam. Another thing I would recommend for your open book exam is to keep the area where you're planning on having the test in your house. Make sure that you have the resources all there now. Don't wait until like the day before. You have to start preparing this stuff now and organizing it now. And there might be some things that you haven't considered using, like law in the flashcards. There might be some flashcards that you've got that might have some hypotheticals on there that look similar to the test questions. So you might pull out a few of those and have those in little baggies that literally say, these are manslaughter hypos that are similar, and you can use what's written on the back as the answer as part of your shell answers. Because I think creating as many shell answers, especially for the subject areas where you're not as strong, this is a good time now, because this is the time to start doing triage for those subjects you didn't take in law school, and like commercial paper or workers' comp or divorce or something that you've never really studied a lot of. This is the time to start creating shell answers for those things. That in turn is going to help you memorize that. So I would say concurrently with your prep for a possible open book exam, start writing out those shell answers just so that you can start memorizing them for yourself, especially for the subjects that you're just not feeling so great in. And I think overall for doing an open book exam, the key to success here is you still have to pretty much be prepared to take a closed book exam. The expectations will be different though for open book when it comes to articulating the rule of law. And one caveat, don't go overboard writing stuff out, because they know you have access to the books. They're going to expect you to write the full complete rule, but don't make the mistake of doing the law school thing where you decide to write half a treatise on torts and start talking about Paul's graph and coming up with your own hypos and adding all kinds of facts and not answering the question. With an open book exam, your analytical piece is going to be more crucial than ever. It's really important that you are writing a very fact rich analysis section, that you are applying the relevant rule to the supporting facts, and that you are not leaving facts out. Every relevant fact that supports your argument, you have to include it. You have to say why it's relevant, how it operates, and what the result is, why it's there. If you're not including reasons for every single fact that's in there, and if you're leaving facts out, you're just going to have a string of conclusory statements that maybe sound good, but they're not actually an argument. They're just basically vague statements. So remember, when you're approaching the analytical piece, that this is like Dorothy on the road to Oz, because. Everything that you put in your analysis section, you have to say why it's relevant and why it supports your argument. If you are struggling to find facts to support your argument, you're making the wrong argument. And it's very easy when you're doing an open book exam to want to throw everything in the kitchen sink. Do not fall into that trap. Do not write more than you need to just because it's open book. That is a huge mistake. It's going to take a lot of time away from you. And some other things I would recommend for open book exams, if you've never taken one before or if you haven't taken one in a long time, is you might want to invest in something like a book stand or some sort of device that will allow you to hold your book up so that it's next, especially because you're going to have limited amount of time. Flipping through pages is not necessarily going to be feasible. So just getting a cheap book stand off of Amazon or at a bookstore or someplace where you can just plop the book in, so that you'll be able to hold it up and type. If you're not a fast typist, when it comes to adding rules of law, I would recommend trying to keep them as concise and succinct as you possibly can without, falling into the trap of using tons of acronyms and abbreviations, which you shouldn't be doing on the bar exam anyway. So, do you have any questions based on that large rant I just gave you?
No, I think you were really clear. And I love the part about just not writing a full treatise. That's going to be my biggest issue.
Right. That's a big problem that a lot of people have just in general, because I think that people, when it's a closed book exam, they overestimate the importance of having the rule of law down. It's important, but maybe only about 25% of your grade is going to be based on articulating the correct rule of law. And the rest is, did I spot all the issues, which demonstrates your ability to think like a lawyer? Did I give a strong, very fact rich, well supported argument, and did I arrive at the conclusion that they wanted me to? If you are not able to articulate exactly what the rule is, that's okay in a closed book exam. In an open book exam, they expect you to get it right, but they don't need you to. Don't waste time reciting all the facts. Just include the facts that are relevant to your argument. You don't need to recite the whole timeline again. And I think that um, it's a good practice to do to try and time yourself in both modalities. So do a practice test under timed conditions, closed book, and then do another one under timed conditions, open book, and see if that affects your performance. If you feel more relaxed, which is great, but if you feel so relaxed that you're just tippity typing everything, and the next Twilight entry, like what was Jacob doing during the whole Twilight thing? I want to know. Put it in there. Um, just you want to be very much Hemingway. That's it. Just like very spare, very lean, and I think that'll benefit you no matter which modality you end up testing is. Less is more. Hit it and quit it. Don't spend a ton of time on stuff that, while it may look good, is not going to get you any points. Because remember, for an open book exam, they expect you to have the right rule in there, and showing that you can type more is not going to impress them. Where it might be more impressive in a closed book style, even then, the bar examiners don't care, because if it's not on their rubric, if it's not something that they've allotted points for, you're not going to get points for it anyway. So get out of law school mode now. Don't try and impress anybody, because we're not here to impress anybody. Because if we were, I mean, just sitting for a bar exam during a pandemic, I think would be enough. But clearly it's not, because it's 2020 and everything sucks. So do you have any other questions before we pack it up, or any other just general bar prep questions that I can help you with?
Um, I think I understand everything about the organization part, so hopefully it all works out. But I think you were really clear, and I really appreciate everything that you talked about.
Great. Well, I'm happy to help, and my offer stands to anybody else who would like to sign up for a session or do some coaching later. And if you're interested in getting some coaching right before the bar exam for any of the things you might be experiencing, I'm happy to help you and as many of your friends as want to join. If it's just like talking you off the ledge, giving you some last minute pointers, or just kind of helping you bust through if you've hit a wall and you just want to murder somebody, which is fine, because I'm a criminal defense attorney. I definitely can help you out no matter what the situation is. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I might have to call you.
And on that cheerful note, I'll go ahead and end the session. Thanks for joining. I'm going to put this up on YouTube on the Sous Chef's channel, so you can always refer back to it. And feel free to slide into my DMs and ask me any questions and set up any times if you just want to have another chat. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.